Ho Chi Minh.
Is it Ho?
It's Ho!
Oh.
Ho Chi Minh.
Is it time to start this podcast properly?
It is time to start the podcast
Right.
properly.
Hi there, guys.
Hi everyone. This is the second episode. Ho Chi Minh is the game that we play in history. Very historical game.
Yes, I feel that. I feel that if you've come back for a second episode, you enjoy this kind of conversation.
You would have done. So let's have more. It's called Hamter, History Banter.
Right.
And it will help you pass your exams.
So you left us last time. We just finished with Otto von Bismarck.
We had.
So we've moved on to a new Kaiser and a new Chancellor. So we thought we'd start off. It's about 1890, just to give you a bit of an impression, a bit of an idea.
It's actually 2012. In our heads.
In our heads.
Don't get worried there. The internet still exists. David, the internet still exists.
Yeah, we may be in Marley Bottom, but imagine that we are in
Bavaria.
We were in Germany. It's 1890.
Yes.
Who runs Germany? Now, the first person that you could really claim to have that right is, of course, the Kaiser. He is the top of the constitutional structure.
Yes. Willie himself.
Yeah, Willie himself. Now, can you tell us a little bit about Wilhelm II? This is the young guy who's taken over from his grandpa Wilhelm I, because Friedrich dropped off about 90 days into his kingship.
Well, I'll sort of just, before we talk about his personality, he had huge powers from the Constitution.
Yeah.
As we said, he had the right to appoint, dismiss councillors and the secretaries, and he was independent from the Reichstag, non-accountable to them. But however, as we'll see through kind of the personality, this taking a more intentionalist viewpoint, perhaps we can challenge this.
Yeah. So Wilhelm doesn't quite seem like the guy who would be able to really take control of a situation, really run a government. He seems a bit, self-centered maybe.
Yeah. He had quite a limited knowledge of politics. He kind of boasted, I have never read the German... I can't do an accent. I've never read the German Constitution.
The Deutsche Constitution. And yet he's supposed to be the guardian of it. Which kind of gives you an idea of the fact that he was maybe more interested in, the ceremonial and the fun bits of being king.
Exactly.
Maybe not so much. He had kind of wild mood swings, famously. Bit of a megalomaniac, apparently. Maybe a bit insane, even. And the one thing he definitely did believe in was the divine right of kings, maybe a bit more so than his granddad.
Personal rule.
The personal rule. Like, that he, given power by God to rule over Germany. The Hohenzollern dynasty should rule forever, and they are destined to be king. But the fact that is personal rule ever really possible is one thing. Can one man have that much, be able to run that much is one question. Also, his character kind of limits. His ability to lead is limited because of all these mood swings going on.
Exactly.
So possibly you could argue that power really lay in a different place. And where might you?
For example, you could argue it was perhaps the army. They were very strong, particularly with the unification. And
Just fill us in there. The army basically unified Germany, winning those wars.
Exactly. And they had an awful loyalty to the emperor rather than to the state. They had a very kind of prestigious role within society, and they were very powerful people. And not to mention, not only were they independent from the Reichstag, but they were very conservative and right wing, intolerant to socialism, liberalism, for example.
And as we can possibly put forward an argument about maybe it's the Prussian elite that ran Germany, I think the army fits into that argument because they were the officer class in particular was dominated by the Prussian elite. I think also a crucial thing was that they had a lot of respect from normal people.
Exactly.
Maybe more than other parts.
I mean, everyone had the army values instilled into them.
Yeah. So another group who possibly you could say ran Germany was the elites. Like we said, the Prussian elites in particular, they had a really high important place in the judiciary, civil service. As we mentioned, the army. The Kaiser was Prussian, so he listened to Prussians in his court. They were the ones who advised him. So that's where you could possibly bring in the argument of the elites running Germany. What's the fight? Another group.
We had some pressure groups who had various interests, lobbying through the Reichstag.
Yeah.
Actually of different sides. For example, we had nationalist German Colonial League wanting to, and Pan-German League wanting to have more colonies. The Naval League pushing through naval expansion
for industrial and political purposes, but we'll learn more about those later. The Agrarian League representing the Junkers We mentioned those in the last episode. They're the agricultural aristocrats.
Yeah, perhaps it's time to mention Flottenpolitik, the development of navy and German expansion.
Yep.
So and also me, Nathan, and Chloe. So Chloe, Nathan, and I's favourite Weltpolitik, just general German expansion within Europe.
Yeah. But then you've also got maybe the Reichstag, maybe like the mass population. We do have a Reichstag which has power. And you have democratic parties increasingly being elected.
And increasingly left-wing democratic parties. As
the SPD.
Trade unions increase, the SPD, particularly its power, was expanding. And the more conservative parties actually saw their power to decline.
In the Reichstag, at least.
Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, it was quite an interesting transitional time at the time.
So we've covered who ran Germany. Quick thing on the different kind of ideas that are bubbling up in the late 19th century in Germany. Do you want to? We mentioned one of those in passing. Socialism, the Social Democratic Party. So the move to industrialisation and urbanisation feeds into socialism. And
Marxism particularly.
Marx was German.
Exactly. So there you go.
The ideas are there. There was a bit of anti-socialism from Bismarck, from the busy man.
Yeah,
but that kind of died away. The anti-socialist laws remained in force till 1890, but then got rid of. So
interesting under Kaiser Wilhelm II.
Yeah. So you might have been a bit anti-socialist, but he was willing to do that. And I guess the bit of persecution in some ways helps because you're fighting against the system.
It's between the people.
And you mentioned another one with the Pan-German League and
Weltpolitik and Flottenpolitik.
Nationalism. That was the big one, which they wanted their place in the sun. They saw all these, the French and the British with their empires. They wanted some of that.
But also the whole idea of Prussia kind of unifying Germany, that created Prussian and thus Germanism nationalism, which was enforced by the army, as you previously said.
Yeah, and also there were other ethnic minorities in Germany: the French, the Jews, the Danes, the Poles, and with the fact that Germany, like this German nationalism, was how Germany came together, how it was unified. These guys became increasingly the butt of the nationalism, and their place became a bit more insecure. And that led into the other two main ideas of the late 19th century, which are
anti-Semitism is the big one. Clearly, being anti-Jewish. And again, it tends to be more conservative rumours which fuels these sort of things. What are that? Völkisch political parties.
So they used to have nationalist views. Yeah. And they weren't doing that well in the Reichstag, but you can see the beginnings. And
it's at least there, particularly amongst the conservatives.
And the final one, social Darwinism, which was a big one at the time. It's kind of belief that
subscribed by the Kaiser himself.
Yeah, he believed in it. A lot of the elite believed in it. It kind of gave racism
legitimacy.
Yeah, and it meant that it was okay for an intelligent person in the elite,
intelligentsia,
for the intelligentsia to support nationalism, racism. And there was kind of this belief that
certain races were superior to others and would eventually dominate.
Really. Yeah. So I hope that covers. I think that gets us right up to the Wilhelm II's Germany.
Yeah. And just piece of advice: the first two podcasts can be used in conjunction to,
give you the background.
Give you the background to.
Hope we haven't jumped around too much.
We shouldn't have.
Hope you enjoyed yourselves.
And we'll leave you with an ultimate question: Ho Chi Minh.
Where is the love?
Where is the love? Goodbye.